Well, after the weekend of football that we all got to witness, I'm excited that I had 10 minutes yesterday, 10 really good, fun, fascinating minutes with Mike Golic. If you're a football fan, you know who Mike is. He's a sportscaster. He played in the NFL for a number of years and actually type 2 diabetic, which we're going to get into in just a little while. Also on the line, though, is Hope Warshaw. She's a registered dietitian. She is a certified diabetes care and education specialist. And with that weekend of football that we just watched, Hope, I have to know what you thought about last week's game. I'm just kidding.
Just kidding. You can ask me. I can tell you.
We'll get your Super Bowl picks coming up. Don't worry, Hope. But Mike, I got to know, is that the most exciting weekend of football that you've ever seen, especially with how long you've been around the game?
So it was, without a doubt, and I was on this euphoric high after it. And then the next day, I thought, man, how do we top that? I mean, we have two more games coming up, obviously the championship games before the big game out in L.A., and I just don't know if we can top that. I mean, 3 game-winning field goals and one where it ends on a play in overtime. So all 4 games ended on the last play you could have. It was incredibly exciting. Outside of the end of the Buffalo-KC game where there was no defense to be seen, and I'm as a former defensive player, I wasn't overly excited about that.
Well, talk to me about what you think of overtime rules, because that's all I can get in my head is how awesome that game was, but it had to end on ridiculous NFL overtimes. What's your take on the overtime rules in the NFL? Should it be like college?
So, no, I hate college. I can't stand the college, but I don't like the pro either. So my answer to this is not based off the Buffalo-Kansas City game, because I've been saying this for a while now, is play another quarter. If you want to shorten it, fine, to 10 minutes, 12 minutes, play the quarter out. So if KC goes down and scores a touchdown and there's time left on the clock, Buffalo gets the ball to do the same thing. You're still playing the game of football, you know, and so I have had this feeling for a while. College isn't even like football in the overtime, going now, you know, from the 25 and then to the 2-yard line by the third one for just 2-point conversions. I don't like that. I like playing the game. So I've said this for a while, so it's not a reaction to the game this past weekend. This is an opinion I've had for a few years.
It's kind of like football's answer to horse in basketball. It's, can you top what I just did?
Yeah, it really is. But you don't get a chance to top it if the first team goes down and scores a touchdown. You get no chance to top anything.
Yeah, it's pretty ridiculous. As far as the big game coming up in a few weeks, you got a favorite out of the Final Four?
Yeah, you know, we went so long, well, forever, without having a team play in their home stadium until last year with Tampa Bay, and I think we're going to get 2 years in a row. I think L.A. is going to make it in the NFC. And, man, it's tough to bet against KC, but Cincinnati did beat them a few weeks ago. I know it's in KC, but I kind of like what Cincinnati's doing right now. I'm going to ride the youngsters there and say that it'll be L.A. and Cincinnati.
I do have a soft spot in my heart for Matt Stafford. I think he's a great quarterback who got a raw deal playing up in Detroit as a Bears fan here. But then, you know, how can you not root for the 49ers with Robbie Gould putting the Packers out of commission last week? And then, you know, you got the Illinois kid out of Arlington Heights as their quarterback. I think a lot of Bears fans are going to be rooting for the Niners this weekend.
It always is interesting to me who you root for and why you root for them because of some sort of affiliation.
Oh yeah, and if you're not rooting for the Bears, you're rooting against the Packers, and if you can't root against the Packers, you're going to root for whoever can beat the Packers.
That's right, exactly right.
It's pretty much how it goes around here. What about you, Hope? Let's hear your Super Bowl predictions. Come on.
KC all the way.
Oh wow!
Do you want to think about it for a second?
I have a personal connection, so
wow,
that's
no hesitation at all on her part. Wow.
I know. She didn't have to think about that for a second. We did bring up the Bears, though, Mike, and I'm sure you're familiar with the situation going on here in Chicago right now with the GM and coach getting fired. It's been a very frustrating 4 or 5 years here in Chicago. Are there any coaching names out there that you would love to see in Chicago that just fit the Chicago personality?
Well, I mean, instead of the Chicago personality, fit the team that you have. Mm-hmm. You know, last year we saw a lot of coordinators getting jobs. The only head coach was Urban Meyer, but he was a college head coach. He was never an NFL head coach, and we saw how well that worked out. The rest were coordinators. And I think that's the direction we're going. Now, the one name out there that's been getting a lot of love, I was stunned he was fired, was Brian Flores from Miami. Now, he's a defensive guy, though, and so you wonder if he got hired in a place like Chicago, then the big question is who's the O coordinator, because you have a young quarterback there that needs to be developed. So does that make you go young offensive coordinator hire there, like an Eric Bieniemy, which would be weird because Matt Nagy came from Kansas City. So would you do the same thing with like an Eric Bieniemy? That's kind of the way I would think, is maybe a young offensive coordinator to deal with a young quarterback to develop them.
Yep, and I'm not going to hold anything against Kansas City because of Matt Nagy. I'm not going to say everyone from Kansas City is now void from coming to Chicago because of Matt Nagy, but I'm open to the deal. I think a lot of people in Chicago like Brian Flores too, but I know he's on the short list for the McCaskies, but we'll see what happens. Before you go, Mike, I know you're talking about diabetes, something that you've been battling now for a little while, type 2 diabetes. It hit close to home with me when I got the information that, you wanted to talk about this, and I jumped on it because I just lost my father back in June 1st, who's dealt with type 1 diabetes for 50 years since he was 14 years old.
Wow.
And I don't say that to scare people. I say that because it's a serious disease, but it's also manageable. My dad battled it for 50 years and had a full life and did everything he can. And I know a lot of type 2 diabetics don't have to deal with that long, but it's still serious, but there's also ways to manage it. So what has been your game plan with type 2 diabetes? How long have you been battling it, and what do you do to manage it?
Well, first, I'm very, very sorry for your loss. And I was the same way about 8 years ago with my father, who had diabetes and lost his life with complications to that as well. So I know exactly where you're coming from. And, I was diagnosed about 17 years ago. And I kind of do everything in a football way, because it's been my mentality. And, first we talk about 34 million people dealing with it. That's 485 filled football stadiums of people who all deal with it in a different way. And that was probably the thing I figured out quickest, was my way is not the way somebody else does it. That I have to get a different game plan than other people's. But I do it like football. I have a doctor who's my coach. My wife and friends are my new teammates for a more important game than football that I'm dealing with now. But it's one of the reasons I like to talk about it. I interviewed and talked to other former professional athletes like a Kyle Love in football and like a John Kruk from baseball who finished his career, I believe it was with the White Sox, about their journeys that they've dealt with and how everybody deals with a different journey, and talking about it through our Talking Type U campaign, which gives a ton of information.
And Hope, I want to ask you, Mike talked about how one plan for somebody might not work for the other person. How important is it to customize these game plans when you're dealing with being diabetic?
So it's essentially important. It's very core to getting to a game plan that fits your life rather than vice versa. And I have a few tips for people, and hopefully they will listen and take these to heart. I have 3. One is to find and partner with healthcare providers who listen to you and get who you are and what you need to balance your daily diabetes care. Number 2 is embrace and take advantage of technology that we have now that's designed to measure and track your diabetes. For example, a digitally connected glucose meter or app. And so use that data to look at what's working for you and not working well. And third, and very importantly, is think about your health and wellness holistically. Diabetes can be well managed.
Absolutely, and I do remember that when I grew up with it, like Mike, I'm sure you did, and with my dad, we grew up with our dads probably taking shots in the thigh of every single day, and then all of a sudden he's got this thing that's in his skin permanently attached to his phone. The technology surrounding diabetes management and how far it's come has been incredible. Probably even in your 17 years, Mike, it's crazy.
Oh, without a doubt. And what's different, and my dad, that generation, my dad really kept this kind of to himself. And I don't say that in a critical way. That's just how he felt he needed to deal with it. I decided I'm going to be very open about it. I was doing radio and TV. I kind of had a show out there and a stage out there to talk about what I was going through. And it has come a long way, without doubt. And one of the big things I've done is I've embraced the technology of today. I've used that along with the game plan that I have. I've added to it, just like sports, again, what I've done all my life has gotten more technology to it. This has as well. One-Touch Solutions gives me an incredible kind of a one-stop shop for customized programs, whether it's like Noom or Fitbit or Cecilia Health or WellDoc. I have these programs that I can enter in my numbers from my One-Touch glucose meter and give information to these programs, and I can get recipes also from these programs of what I need to eat, how I'm working out, my hydration. I can chat with people like Hope, live chats, to get information that I need to help me overall. So I would encourage everybody to embrace what's out there, because it can make this journey a little easier, because it is a lifestyle change for it can be for a long, long time. So use the help that's out there.
Yep, my dad always had a package of Snickers or orange slices in his gym bag when we went out, just to keep those sugars maintained. But the technology's come a long way, and I know you guys got to wrap up here. So if there's a website that y'all can recommend about where to go for more information, maybe to get inspired about how different ways to customize one's own game plan, can you let us know where that is?
Yes, it's talkingtypeu.com. You'll get all that information out we were giving out. Also, you can hear the interviews that I was talking about, and you can enter into a sweepstakes to win some health type prizes, like maybe some home gym equipment. So you'll get incredible information, and you can win something as well. So it works out pretty good.
Thank you very much, Hope. I appreciate it. Good luck to your Chiefs. Mike, we appreciate your thoughts on both topics, man. Enjoy the next couple of weeks of football, all right?
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you.